Hey, what's up, my Splice family? This is Kshmr의, and what am I gonna do? I'm gonna cook up a little bit for you guys. We're gonna make a beat today, and hopefully it is not garbaggio. So let's get right into it. All right, if you really wanna know what my workflow is like, a lot of the times I will open up Contact. I have this little shortcut buddy, and I've put my most used items on here. So my reverb and everything else, drum rack, kickstart, compressor. If you hit the key button, you'll see that these are all capital letters. So capital V is my reverb, Valhalla, and if we wanted to add some Valhalla to this contact track, I hit capital V, and eventually you'd see a little Valhalla pop up. So I really love Shortcut Buddy. But anyway, yeah, let's just keep it rocking. I do always love to write on guitar, my most used guitar, the Renaissance. So let's just pick a key that we like. I always like D. And I really love that it has, at max velocity, a hammer-on. And I always like to take that hammer-on and make it real quick, so. Yeah, so let's just, not necessarily going to be a guitar idea, but let's just start at a tempo of, I don't know, 130, and we'll start writing in a little progression. Maybe I play on the keys first, or maybe, so maybe we could start with this. I'm thinking something dark, so maybe it's a longer chord progression. I'll just start typing it out. Here we go. Maybe something like this. So maybe we'll do a little. Oh, yeah, that's the velocity. We should probably set the velocity that it does the hammer on to be a little bit higher, and that's going to be under here, so just set it to be a bit higher. All right. So I'm here, boom, 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 boom. And I think it's more dramatic when you take longer to change chords, I think. The quicker you change chords, it can be a bit poppy, so let's do, this is a classic. And to get a little flavor, we can make that one a hammer-on. But we should let it know what key we're in, because it's going to decide whether to do a minor second or a major second based on the key. So it thinks that we're in A minor. Let's just let it know that we are in, not D harmonic minor, but yeah, just D minor. I really love that. Let's put it up a little bit. And let's set the volume of our hammer-on to be a little bit lower. So I'm going to set the volume of the hammer-on. Yeah, it gets a little nice little bang. And let's take this lower, and let's set the hammer-on threshold to be a little bit, velocity a little bit lower, like 100. And just make sure we get the hammer-on that guy. And I think that was sounding nice, and maybe even this. And let's get a little bass in there. So for me, I hit Shift S, and that opens up Serum for me. And I do love me some Reese basses. I don't know if that's gonna like limit the rhythm too much, but yeah, we could use kind of like a mid Reese bass and then we'll have an actual, a little more pluck movement in the bottom. Here. Oh, could even not do the root. Could do like, or I could do that with like a little legato, and we do a little bend on the legato. And maybe it's too much bend, and we'll do a little in-between note. So we got a nice little warm kind of sound there. And I'm just gonna get out of the way of our guitar a little bit. So we got a little warmth there, and now just for fun, I'm gonna dig into Sounds of Kashmir 5, which is got a lot of crazy shit going on right now. The organization is nutty, but the most recent thing that we've been comping is our strings that we recorded with our amazing friend Ali. And one new thing that we have in the packs is these long improvisations. Let me just save just in case something goes wrong. Kashmir 2025, and let's just say a little splice fun session. And these long improvs that we have for different instruments, rather than just here's a little catchy loop or here's a one shot, they give you a lot of freedom to explore. Sometimes I'll be really excited about a certain genre, so I'll start with the drums on it. Right now, I'm in like a vibey kind of cinematic mood, so I'm starting with these chords, and slowly I'm going to start feeding some melody into it. But I wanted to put myself in a headspace, a kind of vibe that I thought was interesting. So it just depends, but usually melody is king for me. I'm trying to start with chords and get some melody in there as quickly as I can. And I'll pull up. See, maybe in our violins. I like these long improvs. So that's interesting. It's G. We can make it A. That'll probably work for us. Let's turn him down a bit. And then maybe we put a little pan on them, get them out of the way of the middle, and they'll just do some subtle panning, and we'll make this quite slow, and we'll take the shape down like that. Nice. I think we have a little bit of a vibe going. And if I want to write melody on top and I want to keep it organic, probably what I would do is go into the swam. I really love playing with these swam instruments. You get a nice lead, and you can control the expression quite a bit. So take the flute in, and let's go to MIDI effects, and we'll go to CC control. And in order to put air in the instrument, we have to lift up the 11, and the module will give us vibrato. Right, and I can also do that down here on the, this guy. Oh, he's stuck on the contact instrument. Well, I'm not sure how to get him off that. That's okay. Let's give him a little reverb. And we're in D, right? A little bit loud. That's something. We got a little bit of a vibe going. Okay. I didn't record it. God, I forget. Can we look if I stretch this guy back? Well, yeah, there we go. All right. So I started somewhere around there. I think my first note was D, probably. And let's help your boy out and do a little quantizing. And let's put him over there. Maybe that could be a little more interesting. It could be. And let's see what it sounds like down the octave. Maybe. Maybe. And if I play with the velocity and we go in here and we tell SWAM under options that legato mode should be glissando, we should get a nice little bend here. Maybe we don't need that note. Maybe he could have a little bend, and we could even add like a little grace note, I guess you'd call it. And if we want to add more expression, we grab this guy. Some of you guys might be used to going into the MIDI clip itself, going into envelopes. I just find that super annoying. I like to look at it, and in fact, I'll click on this custom B. Well, we could rename that. We'll call that expression. And yeah, let's just add him again. Expression, and then mod wheel. These are going to be the two that we're most interested in. So the expression, let's start a little soft. And as a note sustains, let's take him down a little bit so the volume goes down. And then come back up for these notes. And then he'll come back up for those notes also. So with long notes, I usually start high and then kind of dips down. The next thing we want to look at is mod wheels, so we get different kinds of vibrato. Yeah, this is a nice little loop. It's a little bit dreamy. It's a little bit sleepy. Maybe we could add some, a little more synth to it, make it more interesting. Let's see what we got here. Even the little preset that I have isn't the worst, but I like this pack. Let's see if they have. This guy, maybe he could be our bass underneath. So I'll take the same pattern and I'll go like that. Doesn't quite have like the punch that I want to it, but maybe what we could do is duplicate him and we could high pass this guy. And it's sort of built into the progression, and I have these ghost notes, but I'm going to take those out, and I'm going to try it with delay. Sometimes delay on bass can be nice. So put a little eighth note delay. All right, and let's try. And we don't want this guy to be the exact same thing. Let's pick another one. You know, my guy, there's the Alchemist Pax Morgan I was telling you about earlier. He's got some good ones. Just the wrong octave. Too deep. Okay, hey, it's not terrible. Maybe we simplify this a little bit. Let's take him. What do you sound better at the high octave? Clashing better. Let's make sure that this guy we had earlier doesn't have too much sub in it when he gets that low note. Oops. I do like him. Maybe we could saturate him up a bit so he's a little bit more present in the mix. Let's try some drums on here. Why not? Get some percussion kind of stuff going on. Let's check out what Splice has to offer. Okay, what kind of percussion would this do? Maybe like a darbuka. I don't know why. Yeah, the first one was kind of our rhythm. Now, why don't we try that guy? Sounds pretty cool. And you get the tempo right? Yeah, I got the tempo right. Sometimes with percussion stuff, I'll even try re-pitch mode. And percussion, I do really like Kshmr의 reverb on here. There's a preset that we did under drums, I think. Under... It's giving a little bit of room. I maybe even duplicate Kshmr의 again. I should just start a new preset. I don't know why I'm doing it off of this one, but some nice new drums that we've been doing. Let me go here from boom. That's going to be too much. I know we used Valhalla earlier, so maybe I just do a little layer of Valhalla on top of the whole thing. I don't know how this eventually turns into like an EDM song, but this is the stuff that I like to make a lot of the time. I just think it's beautiful. Here we could let's see, starting a little bit more chill, and maybe we don't have any drums. Maybe we just have those. We don't have a lead yet, maybe. You know what, as it develops, I really love this instrument called the duduk. So let's get in here, and maybe we could have that join in on the regular flute. So if I go into, I probably put it under winds and ethnic and duduk, and let's see. Okay, let's just see how he's agreeing with it. I don't know if I would recommend this, but I have another duduk instrument, and maybe... And then here, I feel like it should just break out into something big, kind of. It's been building you up. It's got this emotional tension. And walk that thing. Maybe these guys, we can use those as a kind of a transition. This is our guitar, right? But he's all the way up there, so let's just bring him down. And let's think about, maybe I put him on a different track, honestly, just because we're going to want to process him to match the energy of this super soft thing. And we're really just going to play the top notes. So to be something like that. Yeah, I wish there was a quicker way to do this. Like delete all notes except the top note. But alas, something like that. And too much. don't want them to stop on legato. I mean, I just kind of randomly did this walk down thing that became sort of, to me, the memorable part of it. And then as we get into this section, I wanted to make it slightly more interesting. So we're adding some sevenths here. We're kind of taking the same melodic concept, but doing some other interesting things. So instead of just sticking to the notes within the chord, we're adding this, well, I mean, if you're an F, it's like a sus2, I guess, but it's really like a hammer on to the note. So instead of just, it's, which is, you see guys do that all the time in the melodic techno and stuff. You get a cool emotion from it. Like, it'll be like, you get, you get that in it. And it works really well when you go up to your 4 chord. You see a lot of melodies are like that now. It's like, how do you not be cheesy? Well, the alternative would be like, or if I play it up, it'd be like, when you want to get these new notes, these new emotion, well, they're like, hell, I'm just going to pedal my root note and I'm going to change the notes around it. So it sounds a lot darker and driving, you know? And one thing also I like to do here with Kshmr의 reverb is the reverse function, because we've got the space between our chord notes. So what I might do is go to Hall 2, and with the reverse, every time there's a gap, it's going to send this envelope of volume rising into the next one. And then when it hits the next transient over here, then it's going to reset. And it's going to do the same reverse in the gap, and then it hears a transient, and it says, okay, I'm going to chill. But what the effect should sound like is something like... And to make it extra clean, I'm going to group my Nexus. I'm going to add an external instrument. And for you guys out there not familiar with the external instrument, I'm sure there's other uses for it. But the way that I use it is if I have a track with Nexus, let's say, but I also want to send its MIDI to somewhere else, I'll just group Nexus and I'll add an external instrument. And now I can send that MIDI wherever. It's going to receive the same MIDI as you're getting here. And in this case, I'm going to send it actually to ourselves again, to Kshmr의 reverb, so that it's basing its transient detection off of MIDI rather than trying to guess when the transient is and when it should. The effects need to know when the transient is, and it's guessing based on the audio. But the way that supersaws are is it's all these little transients. It's very fuzzy audio. It's not a clean transient, so MIDI is going to help us here. And if we go to all the way mixed, let's see. So now you're getting this really clean ducking every time that the new note hits. So in our progression, you get just getting out of the way. And we want to set a pretty long attack in the reverse. Make that, and we want to set the reverb volume to be low and not too low. You hear us kind of lifting up and sucking up in there. It's really nice. All right, let's go into Nexus. And they got this one piano, center stage piano, which is not too bad for this kind of thing. It's actually not the best sounding piano, to be honest, but for our purposes, it might sound okay. right, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe we get some plucks in there as well. Anjuna pluck. Yeah, I always used to like this one. That's so compressed and everything, but let's just see. Oh, see. Makes me think. As I'm doing the CQ, I'm trying to see if there's a way that the pluck can really shine, because I think it's just prettier than the super saw, but we get the energy of all the extra frequencies that the super saw is giving us. And the way that you make something like this interesting, I think, is adding counter melody to it. So I'm trying to think about a good instrument that either can be a pluck, be short, but give us some harmony to what's already happening, or sustained, which is probably the safer bet because you already have the syncopated rhythm going. Something like that. This would be an easy little progression just because, oh no, we start on that. Yeah, we start on that chord. Okay, so. So it would be more something like, or no, it would be. And then I'm sure they have like a chorus, so can you increase the voices on this one? I never use this. Here. I could just go with my, yeah. Or I could, what's the Sound Toys one called? Micro Shift. Let's see if we get a little fun with them. Okay, we don't want the sustain thing there because we just came from the sustain thing. Okay. Vocal, nice legato, and it's in vocal decks, female voices. Maybe Celtica. One of them's like really Dune style, big vocal. And then this guy is, and then maybe put a transcade on him. Yeah, let's just see what it sounds like. And she should legato up there. Yeah, something kind of interesting. All right, and let's just get rid of the old OTT Express, you know what I'm saying? Okay, that's already sounding kind of cool. Maybe we distort her a little bit. I'll just keep it. Maybe we could even go back to our guy that we were just putting on the Jupiter. Maybe a little micro shift. And maybe a little bit of, I could just try the overdrive for starters. Kind of nice. It's we have a little bit of a vibe going. I think rather than going sustain, because we've been doing sustain leading up to it, it was nice that like everything becomes rhythmic in the part. You know, I try to make a section that's a little bit more dense, and then from there I say, okay, well that's probably going to happen 8 bars later, and I strip back, you know, with all the stuff leading up to it. It's a lot easier for my brain to wrap my head around what the emotion is when I am focused first on the 4 bars that are a little bit more dense musically, and then scale back kind of in retrospect. And whenever I'm doing these drum roll things, I like to just figure out what are the hits I want to focus on. And then, so I have velocity max to min, and then I just drag it up. And yeah. Everybody is just going straight to like 16th note builds these days. That's kind of the trend, rather than before it used to be like pop, 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 pop. It's kind of like more just a 16th note the whole time, and you start filtered. But maybe to make it a little bit more interesting, we could add to. Bring that guy up a little bit. This guy be good. And one of my favorite things to do for risers, I love to take strings and make those rise. Those always sound super clean to me. So one is I'll go in strings and nexus. I'll just pick this big synth string, and maybe I'll give it up a 24 and a down a 24. Set the speed to full. Toggle that guy so it's going to know we want to mess with the pitch bend. Go here. We know we're in D. We'll just shroud along D. And yeah, we're going to pitch bend it all the way up, and hopefully he's not going to be too high. Maybe he's too high already. And we are going to turn him down a little bit, and we're going to low pass. Yeah, it's sounding okay. If we wanted to make it even more interesting, you know, we could that walk down thing that's happening, we could have her do it on a separate track, so it sounds like two voices kind of interacting with each other. These legato instruments are always a bit latent, so just drag it to the left of the... Okay, so we basically know that our main thing is probably going to be this vocal. We need to make a drop. Drops are the bane of my existence. We're a bit slow, so we might think about turning up the tempo, but... Okay, now we gotta think about some bass. Let's load up our old friend Serum. And let's just put in, for starters, what's going to be. Shot myself in the foot a little bit with our starting chord being a B flat. Pretty good. I mean, whatever sub he's got in there. This is from Morgan again. Okay, I think it's going to be okay. We might want to shorten up our kick. Let's see. Let's just go in a kickstart on this guy, and let's feed him the kick. So yeah, kick is definitely pretty long, so we can just live with it, or we can shorten it. And maybe on this guy, what's opening up our envelope there? It's this one. Sometimes to play it safe, yeah, it just depends on the song, but I'll actually roll off the roller, and our sub is quite simple. So, you know, I might go in here. Honestly, there's a sub that I made for my Nexus pack that I like a lot, Dharma sub. Okay, you get down there. Not that low, maybe. Yeah. And then we roll this guy off. Sometimes, I don't know if it's just mental, but rather than doing actual roll-off, I like to just do a big-ass shelf. Because I feel like roll-offs, I don't know. Oh, God dang it. I have a shortcut on my master. When I hit L, I just hear the low frequencies. And then sometimes I like to resample that and just see what's going on. That's not so bad. At the crossover point where the kick meets the sub, you're not seeing like some big dip or anything, so that's a good sign. And then, you know, I'm not saying this is like the perfect way to go about this, but let's try another bass. And then even another bass. and this one will just be accents. At some point I gotta clean this up. This is my big problem. I like to just throw a whole bunch of shit at the wall and then later I clean it up. That's annoying. It has the Kickstart on it. Well, even that's kind of interesting. So we're not going to put that all over the place. We're just going to put that on certain ones. Maybe it's like a... What does it sound like? Or simple even. Another bass, because just for fun, let's see if we get like a little plucky bass. I don't know, let's just try it. What if he was on the offbeat? And maybe it doesn't need to be every time. And then maybe we just like drench him in reverb. Alright guys, there you have it. That is how I create a song from scratch using sounds of Kshmr의, of course, and all those amazing sounds on Splice.